Greetings. My name is Joseph Theodore Conrad Kazniowski, or Joseph Conrad for short. I am going to attempt to draw my life. It all started on the 3rd of December, 1857, when my mother, Evelina, alongside my father, Apollo, brought me into the world. My story begins here, in Ukraine. My childhood was pretty crazy. My father was a nationalist, and when I was 4, all 3 of us were arrested for anti-government activities. We were deported to the middle of Russia. It was a hard life, and we struggled to survive in the freezing weather and harsh conditions. Both of my parents contracted tuberculosis, my beloved mother and father succumbing to their illnesses, only 4 years apart from each other. I miss them. Grieving from my loss, and also rather sick myself, I was placed into the care of my uncle, who lived in Poland. Now, my uncle was a good chap, but he insisted that I take all of these long, boring lessons to further my education. I was tutored in Latin, Greek, geography and mathematics. I absolutely hated it. I dreamt of being free, exploring the open world, on the high seas. Eventually, with my uncle's blessing, I travelled to the town of Marseilles in France, where I found employment as a sailor. I pursued this profession for 15 years, meeting many of the men who turned out to be my inspiration for major characters in my works later in life. It is this point in my story that I am deeply ashamed of, however, and regret immensely. See, I had a bit of a gambling addiction, which is not a good thing when you are rubbish at gambling. I racked up huge debts, and when I could not pay them, I made an attempt at my own life. I miraculously survived, and my amazing uncle paid off all of my debts for me. Although I had lost my position aboard the French ship, I soon joined the crew of an English merchant vessel. It was during this time that I visited a great many of the most famous ports in the world. I saw some absolutely amazing places on my travels, from the Malay archipelago to the Gulf of Siam, and even to the Belgian Congo. All this travel had a terrible impact on my health, however, which was already quite fragile due to the experiences of my childhood. Too ill to continue life at sea, I was hospitalized in England, beginning the next chapter in my life, one which I am famous for. I began to write books. Over the next 16 years or so, I published many books, all of which received tough yet positive reviews, but despite their meager success, and the fact that I was now receiving a pension, I suffered many financial difficulties, and struggled to get by. I also had a wife, Jessie, and 2 children, Boris and John, to support. The release of my book, Chance, turned everything around. It was an instant bestseller and increased both my fame and my wealth dramatically. After that, I was a rather busy man. I was constantly swamped with invitations, inquiries, and admiring readers. I also continued to write new novels, all the way up until my death, many achieving much success in the literary world. On the 3rd of August, 1924, I died of a heart attack in my own home. I was 66 years of age. I now rest with my wife in Westgate Court Avenue Public Cemetery in Canterbury, England. Carved on my gravestone is my name, and directly below it, a quote. Sleep, after toil, port after stormy seas, ease, after war. Death, after life, does greatly please.